Well, folks, thank you for joining me today. I've got a very special guest with me. She's the first female guest, which I'm proud of to bring on, and that's Tara Slone. Thank you for joining me today, Tara.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So, of course, we're familiar with seeing you on Rogers Hometown Hockey. And the first question I want to ask you is, what do you like that you are able to bring to that show?
Oh, um, I mean, that's always hard because I always hesitate to seem self-aggrandizing. But, I think when Ron and I talk about what we're able to offer our guests, we call it a kind of a cradle of comfort. Like we think that we collectively, and I think it's a gift that maybe we each possess, um, is a way of making people feel comfortable enough that they can tell their story. Because, I mean, studios aren't always the most comfortable places. They're quite stark, even though ours is a mobile studio, but there's lights and cameras and it's very quiet. And um, so it's not always the most conducive environment to have this kind of like heart to heart. So I do think that Ron and I can kind of bring a warmth um, and a comfort to people.
What's been the most rewarding thing so far? I've heard you talk about it a couple times now, but for you personally, what have you taken from this job the most so far?
Oh gosh, I mean, the whole thing has been an overwhelming gift, really, a privilege. It's sort of hard to rank, but I mean, I think the way in which the communities welcome us, the way in which we are trusted with people's stories, um, yeah, it's just seeing the country in this way, meeting all kinds of people. For me, it's really about humans and human interaction and the kindness of people, which is it's so nice to be part of a nice show. Like there's so much about sports in particular um, that's about opinion and contentious issues and rivalries and that's part of the fun of it too. But I think our show is just we highlight the kindness and compassion of this country, and it's just a really rewarding thing to be able to do.
You just released last month A Different Spring, a poem that you wrote, which was just fantastic. And for those that haven't seen it, really should check it out. How were you able to put pen to paper, as you put it, put your thoughts into words?
Well, yeah, it was presented to me as just a blank slate. Our a producer that we work with, named Joel Darling, said, "Listen, do you want to write a video essay? We have certain resources. Everybody's working from home, but we can pull images from here and here." And Dave Bedini had written one about what he missed about sports, and I said, how sports focused does it need to be? And he said, do whatever you want. And so, yeah, I just wrote about, how spring usually represents this sort of turning of the page in this country. And we kind of go from cold to warm and we can take off those parkas and kind of, that's when we start to convene. And this spring, obviously everything changed. So I don't know. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be because I honestly, like, my focus during this time has been um, challenging. I'm usually pretty good at sitting down and being able to work in a concentrated way, but I find it really difficult now. But I think it was just cathartic to be able to compose that essay.
You also have the mindfulness meditation on your Instagram live every Monday morning at 10 a.m. How has that helped you to kind of, stay, if you want to say sane, or just, talk about that a bit?
Well, I guess the background is that meditation has been part of my life really since I was born. My parents are practitioners of Tibetan Buddhism, and so that's the environment in which I grew up. And so, it's meditation is the practice that I return to again and again when I need to kind of just touch base with myself or some quiet time or some breathing time. And in particular now, I mean, um, I think a lot of us are struggling, and a lot of that is just mental health wise, and our brains are busy and we're worried and we're stressed, and I was home wanting to be of service and not knowing how I could help anybody. And so I had friends who had expressed an interest in learning about meditation. I knew that there wasn't an appetite for a really long form practice, that we're all kind of distracted right now. So I started this thing called Meditation for People Who Can't Sit Still. It's Monday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. And I have a lot of friends and colleagues who are great meditation instructors. So I bring on a guest instructor every week who does sort of a themed practice. And it's been really nice, and I hope that it's been a nice introduction for some people who'd never experienced it before.
What do you think can be done maybe to make mental health more of a regular conversation every day, every week?
I do, I think there are some great advocates out there, people like Sheldon Kennedy and Michael Landsberg, um, who are, who bring it into the conversation in a regular way. Corey Hirsch is another one. And so I just think like the more that the people who feel empowered and have experienced mental health issues and have come through it or not, or still struggling, but I think we just have to keep talking about it. And I think, those of us who have a voice and do feel confident enough to bring that out into the world should keep doing it. And I've certainly had my fair share of anxiety issues, and I'm not afraid to talk about it, but I think it's just a matter of normalizing it. The more you hear about it, the more you know, A, you're not alone, and it's very common.
That makes me think of the end of your poem, how you said, by the end of this all, you hope that we realize more than ever that we're all in this together. What did you
Hmm.
mean by that exactly?
I mean, I hate to refer to the pandemic as the great equalizer, because I think that we're seeing that um, outcomes are very much based on socioeconomic conditions. So it is not the great equalizer necessarily. But I think, I hope that our priorities get a little straighter in terms of what matters, and family matters, and health matters, and the who our frontline workers are, people doing the tough jobs, picking up trash and working at grocery stores and driving our public transit, that we start to realize um, the importance and the significance of people. But yeah, I think our priorities, like green spaces and being outside and working less and just getting out of the rat race mentality. That's my prayer.
That's a good one. I'll receive that too. So,
Yeah.
um, I mean, I know this is our first meeting, but one word I think that describes you is heart. You know,
Oh,
you just seem to be able to convey more and more as you've done this job, more of your heart. Is that something that you kind of want to continue to do in new ways, whether it's with Rogers Hometown Hockey or with anything in your future, if you will?
well, that is very kind of you. Thank you. Gosh, yeah. I mean, when I think about what will come next for me, and I think that's a question a lot of us are asking right now as everything seems to be on shaky ground. Yeah, I mean, I think when I look at what is rewarding about my current job and what I would like to do moving forward, I don't really know, where I'm going to be in 5 or 10 years. Um, but do I need to be on TV? No. Do I need to be interacting with people and sharing of myself and hopefully, um, exchanging kindness and doing things like that involve, like you say, heart? Yes. So I don't know what it's going to look like always, but that for sure is the most rewarding thing to me.
On International Women's Day this year, we saw an all-female broadcast from Sportsnet and NBC. What did that mean to you as a female broadcaster?
I think all of us would like there to be a day in the not too distant future where it's not where we don't have to be intentional about such things. Um, but we do. And that's just the honest truth. And it went off without a hitch. I really think it didn't hit me until we got on the air. Um, the power of it. I think we were all driven towards like getting it off the ground. Ron and I went down to New York City to shoot an interview with Billie Jean King. We were just all so focused on like compiling the elements that it wasn't until I was in Salmon Arm on the Sunday afternoon and I watched our opening and I started to tear up. Because it cannot be taken for granted. There's still a long way to go and we have a lot more work to do. From a gender perspective, from a diversity perspective, there's just, we have a lot of work to do and we have to continue to be intentional about it. But I think that we cannot overlook the fact that there were a bunch of women doing jobs that traditionally women have not done. And they, top marks to everybody. It wasn't gratuitous. These women all earned their place there and we showcased that. And it was a really beautiful thing.
I guess we'll just finish on a sports topic, I guess. But I mean, if for those that don't know, I mean, Tara's a rock star. Joydrop is the name of your band. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna mid-question change that. So I'm curious. Have you been able to stay in touch with Joydrop and have some good chats with them during this time as well?
Yeah. So the two of the original members of Joydrop, Tony Rabelau and Tom Mackay, are two of my best friends. And so obviously I haven't seen them in person, but yeah, we're always in close touch. And in fact, there's a musical project that we've all worked on together. I won't say anything yet because I don't know what the deal is with the release. But there's a great fundraising project that's happening, and yeah, they will always be in my life. They are two of the best people I know.
I was thinking about it during this time. I'm like, man, I wonder if they're doing some writing because this would be a great time to do
It
that.
would. I think. I mean, I know Tony is constantly writing songs for himself and for other people. Tom Mackay is a producer, so he's constantly working on other people's records. And I have a couple of other things in the hopper. So unfortunately, I haven't been writing much music, but there's some other stuff going on. And then I have a 10-year-old over there that I'm trying to figure out what to do with.
And that's another job for you too, that you're a mom. So how have you enjoyed spending more time with your family during this COVID-19 thing?
Well, I mean, I think anybody in this position will agree. It has its advantages, and for sure, for me, just stopping is nice. I spend so much time on the road that being here and just staying put is a bit of a revelation. But I know parents everywhere are really it's a challenge. We appreciate the work that our educators do even more than we already did, because trying to motivate our kids in this setting while trying to juggle our own lives, jobs, sanity, it's really been I won't lie, it's not easy, but I'm super grateful to have them here and to be looking at my kid right now.
One of your greatest qualities, Tara, has to be your authenticity and your honesty. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And of course, for taking the time to chat with me here today.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Thank you.